Welcome to the Horror Next Door. This is our favorite new horror trailers for March 2024. If you like this video, would you kindly subscribe? So unfortunately, we are having some technical difficulties, so Hellcat will not be joining us today in this video. Instead, you will have to endure my voice the entire time. Now, on with the trailers. Bloodline Killer. Bloodline Killer is a terrifying horror thriller that follows Moria Cole, who endeavors to rebuild her shattered life after the murder of her family at the hands of her deranged and obsessed cousin. Bloodline Killer stars Shawnee Smith, who you might know from the Saw franchise, and apparently Tyrese Gibson, who you might know from the Fast and the Furious series. Bloodline Killer releases April 26. So although this movie personally looks like it could be a hit or miss, the trailer makes it look pretty fun. It does look like this takes place around Halloween. There are a couple little shots of kids out trick-or-treating. Towards the end, there's another shot where he's attacking a woman in a house and you can see like a little fake pumpkin in the background. So I'm not sure how much Halloween there will be in this movie, but just the fact that it takes place around Halloween makes it just a little bit cooler because, as you all know, Halloween is the best holiday. The killer is referred to as Skeleton, which is interesting. He wears a skull-looking mask. It actually looks like a altered version of Mick Thompson's mask from Slipknot, to me personally. At least that's what it looks like. But he just wears like some kind of overalls or something like that, and like a black shirt and some gloves or something, and then he has this chrome silvery looking skull-ish looking mask on. But he's running around town with a machete, presumably around Halloween, so maybe it's easier for him to fit in. It's interesting that Tyrese Gibson is doing a horror film, because I'm honestly not sure if he's ever done a horror film, or if he hasn't really been that much. The other thing that's interesting about this is a Tubi original. Tubi's making their own films now. They've made a ton, actually. Some of them are okay, some of them are not, but this one will presumably be coming straight to Tubi towards the end of the month, so we're gonna have to check it out. Humane. In the wake of an environmental collapse that is forcing humanity to shed 20% of its population, a family dinner erupts into chaos when a family's plan to enlist in the government's new euthanasia program goes horribly awry. Humane is directed by Caitlin Cronenberg, who is the daughter of David Cronenberg and the sister of Brendan Cronenberg, and it also releases April 26th. So I have to admit that one of the reasons why I'm interested in seeing this is the fact that it's another Cronenberg family member making a film. I've never really been a huge fan of David Cronenberg's films, and I think I like Brendan Cronenberg's films a little bit better, but even some of his films are kind of hit or miss for me. Now we have Caitlin Cronenberg making a film, and I'm just interested. It piques my curiosity to see how it all turns out. But honestly, this movie looks completely fucked up. The fact that they are sacrificing themselves for the greater good, so to speak, are kind of getting screwed over because one of them ran away. So now they're all running around pretty much beating the shit out of each other because they don't want to be the one that's sacrificed. So I'm interested in seeing how this all turns out. Based on the Cronenberg name alone, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some pretty messed up stuff that they are keeping from us in the trailer. So just interested in seeing how this all turns out and how messed up it really gets. In a Violent Nature. An ambient horror slasher that methodically depicts the enigmatic resurrection, rampage, and retribution of an undead monster in a remote wilderness. In a Violent Nature releases May 31st. So this is a teaser trailer, so not much is shown, but what is shown looks awesome. I think one of the reasons why I got interested in this pretty much immediately is because this really does remind me of Friday the 13th in a way. I would be shocked if I found out that this wasn't inspired by Friday the 13th in some way, shape, or form. I think the killer that is depicted reminds me of Jason, especially the shirt that he's wearing. To me personally, looks very similar to the burlap jacket that Jason wore in Freddy vs. Jason, much darker, obviously. Then, seeing the back of his head, it just really reminded me of Jason walking around without his hockey mask on in the woods, stalking people. Obviously, as a Jason fan, I'm immediately hooked into this movie and just want to see how it all plays out. I love the shots that are shown in this, some of the angles and just some of the locations, the foliage and the trees and stuff look so good. The shot at the end that's like out in the water and there's like one of those little floaty wooden dock things out there, like that all just looks so good. This movie looks very well done cinematography wise. There is a small glimpse of the killer actually wearing a mask that I assume that he finds during his travels. You don't really see it very much in the trailer, but I actually found a still that's right there on IMDb. So I'm just going to put that picture up so you can see a clearer look at what he's wearing on his face. I don't know what this mask is, but if I had to guess without any kind of research whatsoever, to me looks like a very old vintage welding mask or something. I don't know. I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I am, but that's what it looks like to me. But it looks weird as shit. I think I'm just very excited to see this movie and see how it all plays out and see what the kills are like. They don't really show very much in this, obviously, so that's great. I'm curious what the name of this killer is, and I'm actually curious who the actor is playing the killer. I believe this film is coming to Shudder. Just being a fan of Friday the 13th and slasher movies, this movie really looks awesome and cannot wait to check it out. The Strangers, Chapter 1. A young couple drive cross-country toward a new beginning. Unfortunately, they have no choice but to stop and stay at a secluded Airbnb in Oregon and endure a night of terror against 3 masked strangers. The Strangers Chapter 1 is directed by Rennie Harlin, who also directed A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, Die Hard 2, Deep Blue Sea, and Exorcist The Beginning, and he will also be directing Chapters 2 and 3 of the upcoming Stranger films. The Strangers Chapter 1 stars Madeline Petch, who you might know from Polaroid and Riverdale, and also Richard Brake from Barbarian and 31. The Strangers Chapter 1 releases May 17th. So I am obviously interested in seeing this movie and excited about seeing this movie, mainly because it's The Strangers, obviously. I'm a huge fan of the original Strangers, and I'm actually a big fan of the sequel, The Strangers Prey at Night. I'm just excited to see the man in the mask back doing his thing. Just the creepiness that is Dollface and Pinup Girl. For those of you who might not know, this is the first Strangers that's going to be released in a trilogy. From what I'm understanding, apparently there's 3 films and they all 3 have been filmed already. So they're already done. They're already in the can. They just now need to release them. And this is the first one. I'm not sure the release schedule. Are they going to do one this year and one next year and then the one the following year? I guess we'll have to see. But I just think that's very interesting for Lionsgate to do, mainly because this is a horror series. I just feel like it's not that common for a big major studio to greenlight a series of films, all to be shot at the same time for a horror series. Usually you hear that stuff, when it's Harry Potter's and Lord of the Rings and Twilights and things like that. You don't hear, The Strangers. We're going to greenlight all 3 of these movies at once. We're going to film all 3 at once and we're going to release them over time. It's just honestly really wild to me, and I think it's crazy because there's only been 2 movies in this series, and the 2 were really far apart from one another as well. So it's not like it's Friday the 13th. It's not like it's Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street or something like that. Something that's been around for a while, 40 plus years, and has an established huge following. I could understand, and I would love it if they came out and greenlit a Friday the 13th trilogy or something like that and filmed them all back to back. That would be awesome. So I'm not saying that this isn't awesome. It's just really wild to me that this is happening. I guess we'll see how it all plays out. I'm really hoping that these 3 films turn out to be really good and really fun. I just think that there's a part of this trailer that makes me a little apprehensive going into it. I'm hoping that it turns out to be cool, and I'm anxious to see how this movie concludes and how it sets up chapter 2 in the trilogy. Also, when you watch the trailer, you'll notice Richard Brake is a police officer, and he's only in one little scene in the trailer where they go to the diner. He's just kind of sitting there. He doesn't even have any lines or anything in the trailer, but he's there. I don't think Richard Brake would play a character that's just like a throwaway character that you never see. So I'm kind of hoping that Richard Brake becomes more of a character, possibly over the course of the 3 films. Maybe in the first film, he's not in it very much, but then the second one, he's going to be more of a prominent character that gets involved with the strangers. We'll have to wait and see. This comes out in a little over a month in theaters, so we'll have to see it probably opening weekend and talk about it in our What We Watched video.
As always, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment letting us know your thoughts on these trailers, all of which will be linked below along with our store and social media pages. Until next time!